Tonight to discuss this and more, Justin Wolfers, professor of economics and public policy at the University of Michigan, and Rohit Chopra, former director of the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau and former member of the Federal Trade Commission during President Trump's first admission. Professor Wolfers, explain the domino effect, how this shutdown is going to affect the economy for all of us, right? It was 4 days, it was 12 days, it was 14. It was a long time, 40 days.
Yeah, I think there's two ways of describing it, Steph, and I think, to be honest, we've got to do both. So on the one hand, I'm going to call it small, and because I'm an economist, I've got a second hand, I'm going to call it big. Look, here's the small part. Government's only a small part of the economy. Federal workers are actually a relatively small part. We don't have a large federal workforce, no matter what people at home might think. A lot of them are essential workers, so they were working anyway, whether they were doing it with or without pay. A reasonable estimate is that each week of the shutdown knocked 0.05% off of GDP. We had 6 weeks, so that's 0.3%. It'll sound like more when we report the numbers because we annualize them, so then you have to multiply that by 4. So it'll knock about 1.2% off this quarter's GDP. But all of that comes back next quarter. So we'll pretty soon forget about it. So look, that's the case that this was small. Let me give you the other case. Every dollar that was wasted is a dollar that didn't have to be wasted. We had politicians in Washington burning $100 bills for literally no point. Look, it's only because I'm a macroeconomist that I can come on TV and tell you we wasted this many billions of dollars, and then I get to say, oh, it wasn't much. Well, it's not much compared to the size of the economy, but in terms of people's lives and what folks at home are having to do without to get by, boy, I bet a few of our viewers would like a few of those $1 billion back.
Without a doubt. All right, then let's spin the wheel, Rohit. You've got the shutdown. You've got a potential AI bubble. You have the impact of the tariffs and just across the board high prices. What are you most concerned about right now?
Well, there's a lot to be concerned about because a lot of the bad policies are not going to have their negative effects overnight. Look, we didn't even have access to critical data during the shutdown. There's all sorts of boring data that the government collects on weather that people depend on, and economic data that businesses plan for. So we are now seeing more volatility in the stock market. We're seeing mortgage rates go up again, and nothing seems to be going in the right direction at the moment. So we have to see if he is going to continue with this trade war and with China constantly checkmating him. I think this is a recipe for ongoing mess for the stock market, for small businesses and consumers alike.
Justin, I see you nodding. The White House is saying we're likely never going to have the jobs data for October. I mean, that seems like one way you could avoid talking about affordability, but it doesn't change the impact or the reality.
Absolutely. And look, I just want to emphasize just how Rohit's an amazingly well-trained economist, must have been trained by some of the finest minds in the country. He really gets it. Look, I do think it's important to emphasize what he said, though, which is we can get on about the story of the day. And the story of the day is the jobs report for October may not come out at any point. That's some of those $100 bills we burned up a while ago. But what we're really seeing, the shutdown was a symptom of government dysfunction, immense dysfunction that has much larger and much more long-run consequences. We're seeing decay in the rule of law. We're seeing a rise in flat-out bribery. We're seeing the rise of crony capitalism. We're seeing the system that you and I have taken for granted every year of our lives until this year. We're seeing it crumble before our eyes. And this is the stuff that may not show up in next quarter's GDP, but this is Rohit's point. It's going to show up when your kids are out looking for a job, when your kids are trying to save for a house, and your kids are going to discover that we just don't have the economy that you and I dreamed and hoped for them.
Mohammed Al-Arian, one of the smartest people in finance, said something that really got me thinking today, that not releasing the data will virtually guarantee to fuel conspiracy theories. What happens when you add that to the situation that people already feel is unstable, Rohit?
Well, I think this is the real thing that they want to be able to claim, that everything is going great. I heard the president recently saying, oh yeah, prices are going down. On what planet is he living on? We are seeing electricity going up. We are seeing food prices continue to go up. And with no data, they will be able to manufacture their own reality. But the problem they will face is
See, when they don't like what you're saying about the economy, the universe starts to freeze the camera so you can't even hear from Rohit. Justin, I saw an op-ed today in the Washington Post that almost made me spit my drink out. It argued that the way that the president is personally profiting in the White House should not be that shocking because presidents have always done it before. And they said, quote, "We need to get a grip." Now, I'm not so naive that I believe that presidents throughout history haven't been making money here, there, and everywhere, and they're consultants and blah, blah, blah. But we should just get over it. Think about the scale. Think about just 2 weeks ago, President pardoning one of the biggest names in the crypto industry. And within 2 weeks, CZ and Binance is pushing Trump's cryptocurrency empire.
Yeah, it's, first of all, what a moment that Jeff Bezos's Washington Post is in when it stands up and says we have a president ripping us off in ways that we've never seen in our lifetimes and just says that's just history. Look, it's not consistent. It's not consistent with American history because the thing that's different is the thing you got to, Steph, and you understand it because you're a financial journalist. The word that matters is billions. So, yeah, there's been some ways in which 200 years ago or 100 years ago, folks were lining their pockets. And there's all sorts of money in Washington in ways we don't like. Every ex-president gets $5 or $10 million for their biography after. And maybe that's how we pay our guys. But the difference between millions and billions, right? $1 million is a briefcase full of cash. $1 billion is a school bus full of cash. And this bloke has backed up several school buses to the White House. So a couple of past presidents might have smuggled out with a briefcase or two. We don't like it. We're not in favor of it. No one's ever backed up the truck like this.
You got foreign leaders working on trade negotiations saying, time to talk to Eric. He's a good boy. Rohit, I want to talk about the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. Okay. The White House is still trying to kill this agency, right? The one agency that is dedicated to helping people who are victims of financial fraud. This time they are saying that its funding is illegal and they could drain the agency of any money left by early next year. Tell us what we need to know.
Well, this is a fringe legal theory they've come up with. They brought this against me and we beat it. But now they're just surrendering and they're saying, you know what, let's just shut this agency down. But they're doing it at the same exact time that they're supposedly doubling down on affordability. This is an agency that has returned billions and billions and billions of dollars to people. It's the one that makes sure that the mortgages are affordable and are working right. So I don't think they know the left hand from the right hand, and it's going to bite them somewhere else.
What is Russ Vought doing over there? Because he pays close attention to all of the money in that agency.
Well, what he is using the agency's money for is apparently a multi-million-dollar security detail. They want to talk about fiscal responsibility, but often they are using public money for anything other than the mission, but really just for self-aggrandizement and their own spending.
Security detail for himself?
For himself, apparently. And someone calculated about $1,000 an hour they're spending to protect. And this is the acting CFPB director. He's doing it part-time on the side. This just doesn't add up at all and says a lot about whether they really care about people's pocketbooks.
Well, I'm just going to bite my tongue on that one. Gentlemen, thank you so much.